She told the billionaire CEO their baby died, but years later, he met his daughter at school. Rain poured down as Eliza Morgan stood outside the hospital, her body still aching from childbirth, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces as she rehearsed the words she would say into the phone. "The baby didn't make it, Dominic. I lost our child." The lie tasted like poison on her tongue, but as she dialed his number, she knew it was the only way. The only protection for the tiny, perfect girl sleeping in the nursery upstairs, a daughter whose father had already made it clear that his empire mattered more than his family. "Hello?" His voice was distracted, impatient. "Dominic, it's me," her voice broke. I lost the baby." The silence stretched between them, vast as an ocean. "I'm sorry to hear that," he finally said, his voice controlled, professional. "I'll have my assistant wire you some money for the medical expenses." And that was it. No questions, no grief, no rush to her side. 12 years later, Dominic Reeves stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, swirling aged whiskey in a crystal tumbler. At 43, he had everything money could buy: a technology empire valued at billions, properties on 3 continents, and his face on the cover of Forbes. Yet as night fell over Manhattan, casting the city in a golden glow, an emptiness gnawed at him that no amount of success could fill. "Mr. Reeves?" His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your car is waiting. The board dinner starts in an hour." "Thank you, Elise," he replied, straightening his custom-tailored suit jacket. Another night, another business function, another opportunity to play the role of the brilliant, confident tech visionary that everyone expected him to be. The mask had become so familiar that sometimes he forgot it wasn't his real face. Before we go deeper, if that ache in your chest hit you, don't scroll, hit subscribe now. People who skip moments like this always come back later, wishing they hadn't ignored their gut. The private elevator descended silently to the lobby, its mirrored walls reflecting a man who looked successful by every measure. Dominic barely recognized himself sometimes, this polished, controlled version of the hungry, passionate young entrepreneur he'd once been. His driver, Richard, stood waiting beside the sleek black Bentley. "Good evening, Mr. Reeves." "Evening, Richard." Dominic slid into the back seat, already scrolling through emails on his phone. The car glided through Manhattan traffic, a bubble of luxury insulating him from the world outside. This was his life now, moving between climate-controlled environments, surrounded by people who wanted something from him, never truly connecting with anyone. His executive assistant had organized the evening with military precision. The dinner would last exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. He would speak for 12 minutes about Horizon Technology's latest innovation. He would shake exactly the right hands, make exactly the right promises, and return home to his empty penthouse precisely at 10:45 p.m. "Sir?" Richard's voice interrupted his thoughts. "We've arrived." The restaurant was exclusive, the kind of place where the menu had no prices and reservations were booked months in advance. As Dominic approached the private dining room, he could already hear the polite laughter, the careful conversations, the subtle jockeying for position. Dominic, Charles Whitmore, chairman of the board, approached with an outstretched hand. "Just the man we've been waiting for." Dominic smiled, the expression not quite reaching his eyes. "Charles, good to see you." The evening unfolded exactly as planned. The food was exquisite, the wine perfectly paired, the conversation a careful dance of business and carefully curated personal anecdotes. Dominic played his part flawlessly, discussing quarterly projections and market expansion with just the right balance of confidence and thoughtful consideration. No one at the table would guess that beneath his perfect performance, a hollowness was spreading. That sometimes, in the dead of night, he wondered what it had all been for. What was the point of building an empire when there was no one to share it with? "A toast," Charles announced, raising his glass, "to Dominic Reeves, the man who turned a startup in a garage into a global powerhouse. Your vision continues to amaze us all." Glasses clinked. Dominic nodded in acknowledgement, taking a small sip of his champagne. The bubbles felt flat on his tongue. Later, as the evening wound down, Charles cornered him by the bar. "You know, Dominic, my daughter Vanessa is back from Paris. She's been asking about you." Dominic suppressed a sigh. This wasn't the first time Charles had attempted to play matchmaker. "Is she? That's nice to hear." She'll be at the charity gala next weekend. Perhaps you could save her a dance? Perhaps, Dominic replied non-committally. He had dated occasionally over the years, beautiful, accomplished women who fit perfectly into the life he had built. But something always felt missing, a connection he couldn't quite make. His phone vibrated in his pocket. A welcome interruption. "Excuse me, Charles. I need to take this." It wasn't a call, but a notification from his news aggregator app. He rarely paid attention to local news, but a headline caught his eye. Local elementary school principal honored for innovative education program. The accompanying photo showed a woman with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile surrounded by elementary school children. Something about her face triggered a distant memory, like a half-forgotten dream. Dominic enlarged the image, his heart suddenly racing. Eliza Morgan. It couldn't be her. And yet, as he studied the photo, there was no mistaking those eyes, the same eyes that had once looked at him with such love, and later, such profound disappointment. "Sir, is everything all right?" Richard asked, as Dominic returned to the car, his face pale. "Change of plans," Dominic said, his voice uncharacteristically unsteady. "Take me to Oak Ridge Elementary School in Queens." "Now, sir, it's after hours. Just take me there." The drive from Manhattan to Queens passed in a blur of memories Dominic had spent 12 years trying to forget. Eliza Morgan, his college sweetheart, the woman he'd promised to build a life with, the woman who had told him she was pregnant just as his fledgling company received its first major investment offer, the woman he had walked away from, the woman who had called him from the hospital to tell him their baby hadn't survived. He had sent money. He had expressed brief, formal condolences. And then he had buried himself in work, building Horizon Technologies into the behemoth it was today, never looking back, never allowing himself to wonder what might have been. Oak Ridge Elementary was quiet when they arrived, the building mostly dark except for a few windows. Dominic instructed his driver to wait and approached the main entrance with uncharacteristic hesitation. The door was locked, but through the glass, he could see a light in what appeared to be the administrative offices. He pressed the security buzzer, not entirely sure what he would say if someone answered. A moment later, a custodian appeared, eyeing him suspiciously. "School's closed, sir." "I'm looking for Principal Morgan. Is she still here?" The man's expression remained wary. "Who's asking?" "An old friend," Dominic replied, the words feeling strange on his tongue. "Dominic Reeves." The custodian's eyes widened slightly in recognition of the name. "Wait here." 5 minutes later, which felt like an eternity to Dominic, the door opened, and there she was. Eliza Morgan looked different from his memories. Her once long dark hair now cut in a practical bob with strands of silver at the temples, but her eyes were exactly the same. Those expressive brown eyes that had once been his entire world. "Dominic," she said, her voice carefully neutral, "this is unexpected." "Hello, Eliza." He struggled to find the right words. "I saw the article about your education program. Congratulations." She studied him for a long moment. "Thank you, but I doubt you came all the way to Queens to tell me that." He faltered, uncharacteristically at a loss. "Could we talk? Just for a few minutes." Eliza glanced at her watch. "I have a meeting with a parent in 20 minutes. I'll be brief." She hesitated, then nodded, holding the door open. "My office is this way." Dominic followed her through colorful hallways, decorated with children's artwork. Eliza's office was warm and inviting, with plants on the windowsill and photographs on the walls mostly of school events and smiling children. "So," she said, sitting behind her desk, maintaining the professional barrier between them, "what brings the great Dominic Reeves to my humble school?" There was a hint of bitterness in her tone that he couldn't miss. "I wanted to see you," he admitted. "It's been a long time." 12 years, she confirmed, "though I'm surprised you kept count." Dominic winced at the justified barb. "I deserve that." "You deserve a lot more than that," Eliza said quietly. Then she sighed, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "What do you want, Dominic? Really?" He looked at her directly, forcing himself to ask the question that had been burning inside him since he saw her photo. "I've been thinking about what happened. The baby." Eliza's expression hardened. "Now you ask? 12 years later?" "I know it's too late. I never properly acknowledged your loss. Our loss. I was callous, focused only on my company. I should have been there for you." Something flickered in Eliza's eyes, an emotion Dominic couldn't quite identify. She stood abruptly, moving to a filing cabinet where she pulled out a folder. Without a word, she placed a photograph in front of him. The image showed a young girl, perhaps 11 or 12, with his green eyes and Eliza's smile, holding a science fair trophy. Dominic stared at the photograph, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. "I don't understand." "Her name is Lily," Eliza said softly. "She's 11 years old, brilliant at mathematics, plays the violin, and has your stubborn determination." The world seemed to tilt beneath Dominic's feet. "But you told me the baby didn't make it." "I lied." Eliza's voice was steady now, her eyes meeting his directly.
"You had made it perfectly clear that your precious startup was more important than us."
"I wasn't going to force you to be a father when you'd already chosen your path." Dominic couldn't tear his eyes away from the photograph. A daughter. He had a daughter. "She doesn't know about you," Eliza continued. "She thinks her father died before she was born." It seemed kinder than the truth. Each word was a knife to his heart, but Dominic couldn't deny he deserved the pain. "I tried to find you," he said finally. "After the company went public, I wanted to make things right, but you'd moved, changed your number." "Make things right?" Eliza's laugh held no humor. "With what? Money? After you made it perfectly clear that your precious startup was more important than us?" "I was wrong," Dominic admitted, the words inadequate but sincere. "I made the biggest mistake of my life when I walked away from you, from both of you." If this moment made your stomach drop, that's empathy talking. Subscribe right now before you forget what that feels like. And if you still won't, go to the comments, tell us how you can walk away right now. Eliza's expression softened slightly. "Why are you here now, Dominic? What do you want?" Before he could answer, there was a knock at the door. The custodian poked his head in. "Miss Morgan, the Hendersons are here for their appointment." "Thank you, Joe. Tell them I'll be right out." She turned back to Dominic. "I have to go." He nodded, rising from his chair. Could I see you again, to talk about Lily?" Eliza studied him for a long moment, as if trying to read his intentions. Finally, she took a business card from her desk and wrote something on the back. "This is my personal number. Call me tomorrow evening, after 8. We'll talk then." She paused. "But Dominic, if this is just some guilt-driven impulse that you'll regret next week, please don't call. Lily has had a stable, happy life. I won't let you disrupt that unless you're absolutely certain about what you want." "I understand," he said, taking the card carefully, as if it might disintegrate in his hands. "Thank you, Eliza." As he walked back to his waiting car, Dominic felt as though the ground beneath his feet had shifted. For 12 years he had built his empire, convinced himself that the sacrifice had been worth it. Now, looking at the photograph of Lily that Eliza had allowed him to keep, he realized how hollow that victory had been. A daughter. He had a daughter he had never met. "Back to the city, sir?" Richard asked, as Dominic slid into the back seat. "No," Dominic replied, still staring at the photograph. "Take me home. I have a lot to think about." The penthouse felt colder, emptier than ever as Dominic entered, loosening his tie and pouring himself a drink. He walked to the wall of windows, staring out at the city he had conquered, seeing nothing but the image of a girl with his eyes. Memories flooded back, sharp and painful. He and Eliza had met during his final year at MIT. She had been studying education, working part-time at the coffee shop he frequented while developing his first app. She had noticed the dark circles under his eyes, started bringing him coffee before he even ordered, leaving little notes of encouragement with each cup. Their romance had been intense, passionate, the brilliant, driven tech student and the warm, compassionate future teacher. They had moved in together after graduation, Eliza supporting them both with her teaching job, while Dominic poured every waking hour into his startup. When the first major investment offer had come in, it had felt like all his dreams were coming true. The same week, Eliza had told him she was pregnant. "Isn't it amazing?" she had said, eyes shining. "Everything is happening at once. Your company taking off. Our baby. It's like the universe is blessing us." But Dominic had seen only complications. obstacles to his vision. The investors wanted him to relocate to Silicon Valley. They expected total commitment. A pregnant girlfriend and a baby didn't fit into the sleek, ambitious future he had mapped out. The timing is all wrong, he had told her. I can't do this right now. Maybe in a few years, when the company is stable. The hurt in her eyes had been unbearable. He had walked out that night, stayed at a hotel, avoided her calls for days. When he finally returned to their apartment, her things were gone. A week later, divorce papers arrived. They had married quickly, quietly, at City Hall the year before, a spontaneous decision on a rare day off. He had signed the papers without contesting, transferred a generous sum to her account, and told himself it was for the best. That she would find someone who could give her the life she deserved. That he would make it up to her someday, when he had achieved everything he had set out to do. And then, months later, the call from the hospital. The baby didn't make it. 4 words that had closed a chapter he had never properly read. Except it had been a lie. The baby, Lily, had lived, had grown, had his eyes, and Eliza's smile. And he had missed everything. The next evening, Dominic sat in his penthouse, staring at his phone. It was 8:05 p.m. He had canceled 3 meetings and delegated an important client presentation to his COO, actions so out of character that his executive team had been visibly concerned. But for the first time in years, business was the furthest thing from his mind. He dialed Eliza's number, his heart pounding as if he were a nervous teenager, rather than a billionaire CEO accustomed to high-stakes negotiations. "Hello, Dominic," Eliza answered on the 3rd ring, her voice guarded. "Thank you for taking my call," he said formally, then immediately regretted the stiffness. "I mean, it's good to hear your voice. You said you wanted to talk about Lily." "Yes." He took a deep breath. "I want to meet her, Eliza, if that's possible, if you'll allow it." The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long that he wondered if the call had dropped. "It's not that simple," Eliza finally said. "You can't just walk into her life after 11 years and expect everything to be fine. She believes her father is dead. Learning the truth would be complicated." "I know," Dominic acknowledged. "I'm not asking to disrupt her life overnight. I want a chance to know my daughter, and for her to know me. Eventually." "Why now?" Eliza asked, the question he'd been dreading. "Is this some midlife crisis, suddenly realizing money isn't everything?" "Maybe," he admitted. "Or maybe seeing your photo was the wake-up call I needed. I've achieved everything I thought I wanted, Eliza. But none of it matters. I've been empty." Another long pause. "I need to think about this," she finally said. "This isn't just about you and me. It's about what's best for Lily." "Of course," he agreed quickly. "Take all the time you need, but please, consider it." "I will," she promised. "Good night, Dominic." After they hung up, Dominic walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, looking out at the city he had conquered. For the first time, he saw it not as a testament to his success, but as a glittering distraction from what truly mattered. The next morning, he called his executive team together. "I need to make some changes," he announced, surprising them all. "I'm taking a step back from day-to-day operations, effective immediately." "Is everything all right?" asked Marcus Chen, his COO and longest-serving executive. "Yes," Dominic replied. "For the first time in a long time, everything might actually be all right." He spent the next 2 days reorganizing his schedule, delegating responsibilities, and setting up systems that would allow him to focus on what now seemed like the only thing that mattered, finding a way back to the family he never knew he had. 3 days after their phone call, Dominic received a text from Eliza. "Central Park, Bethesda Fountain, Saturday at 10 a.m. Lily and I will be there. No promises beyond a meeting." His heart leaped. A chance. She was giving him a chance. Saturday morning dawned clear and crisp. Dominic dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, deliberately leaving behind the trappings of wealth that usually surrounded him. No driver today. He took a taxi to the park and walked the rest of the way, his stomach in knots. He spotted them before they saw him. Eliza sitting on a bench near the fountain, and beside her, a girl with long dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, animatedly describing something with expressive hand gestures. His daughter, Lily. Dominic approached slowly, not wanting to startle them. Eliza saw him first, her expression cautious as she touched Lily's arm and whispered something to her. The girl turned, curiosity evident on her face. "Hello," Dominic said, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "Lily, this is Mr. Reeves," Eliza said carefully. "He's an old friend of mine from college." "Hello, Mr. Reeves," Lily said politely, studying him with intelligent green eyes, his eyes. "It's nice to meet you, Lily," he replied, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Your mother has told me what an amazing young lady you are." Lily glanced at her mother, clearly sensing there was more to this meeting than she'd been told. "Are you really a friend of Mom's? She never mentioned you before." "We lost touch for a long time," Dominic explained, looking to Eliza for guidance. "Mr. Reeves is in town for business," Eliza said smoothly. "He reached out recently, and I thought it would be nice for us all to meet." Lily's eyes narrowed slightly, not entirely convinced. She had his skepticism too, it seemed. "What kind of business?" she asked directly. "I run a technology company," Dominic answered. "We develop software and applications." This caught her interest. "Really? I'm learning to code. Python and JavaScript." At 11, Dominic couldn't hide his surprise and pride. "I'm almost 12, Lily corrected him seriously. "And I'm in an advanced program." "She's being modest," Eliza added with a small smile. "She's at the top of her class." "That's impressive," Dominic said sincerely. "I started coding when I was about your age, but I certainly wasn't tackling Python." "What was your first program?" Lily asked, her reserve melting slightly. "A very basic game, text-based adventure. Nothing fancy, but I was so proud of it." "I made a calculator app last month," Lily said, "with a special function for calculating the golden ratio in nature." Dominic's eyebrows rose. "The Fibonacci sequence? That's advanced work." Lily shrugged, but he could see she was pleased by his recognition. "Would you like to walk around the park a bit?" Eliza suggested. "It's a beautiful morning." They strolled along the pathways, Lily gradually warming up as Dominic asked thoughtful questions about her interests. She loved mathematics and science, played violin in the school orchestra, and had recently won a regional science fair with a project on sustainable energy. "Mom helped with the display boards," Lily said, "but the research was all mine." "She's always been independent," Eliza remarked, a hint of pride in her voice. As they approached the zoo, Lily's eyes lit up. "Can we go see the sea lions? They're doing a feeding demonstration soon." "Of course," Dominic said before Eliza could respond. "I'd love to see that." Eliza gave him a look, half warning, half amusement. Lily loves animals. She volunteers at a local shelter on weekends. "That's wonderful," Dominic said, genuinely impressed. "Compassion is an important quality." They watched the sea lions, Lily's excitement contagious as she shared facts about marine mammals. Afterward, Dominic suggested ice cream, and they found a vendor near the carousel. "Chocolate chip cookie dough," Lily ordered decisively. "Make that 2, Dominic said, then looked at Eliza. "And for you?" "Mint chocolate chip, please," she replied. Dominic smiled. "You still like the same flavor?" "Some things don't change," Eliza said softly. They sat on a bench, eating their ice cream, the conversation flowing more easily now. Lily told Dominic about her school, her friends, her dreams of becoming a software engineer, or maybe a veterinarian. She hadn't decided yet. "You have time," Dominic assured her. "And you can always change your mind. I started out wanting to design video games and ended up creating business software instead." "Is your company famous?" Lily asked. "Would I know it?" Dominic hesitated, glancing at Eliza. They hadn't discussed how much to reveal about his identity. "It's called Horizon Technologies," he said simply. "We make the operating system your school computers probably use." Lily's eyes widened. "Wait, you're that Dominic Reeves? The Horizon guy? We just read about your company in our technology class." "Guilty as charged," Dominic admitted with a small smile. "That's so cool," Lily exclaimed, then immediately tried to temper her enthusiasm, as if remembering she was supposed to be more reserved. "I mean, that's interesting." As the afternoon drew to a close, Lily ran ahead to watch the sea lion feeding one more time, giving Eliza and Dominic a moment alone. "She's incredible," Dominic said softly, watching his daughter. "You've done an amazing job raising her." "She is incredible," Eliza agreed. "And yes, I have." He turned to face her. "What happens now?" Eliza sighed. "I don't know, Dominic. Lily seemed to enjoy meeting you, but she's perceptive. She knows there's something we're not telling her." "When will you tell her the truth?" "When I'm certain you're not going to disappear again," Eliza said bluntly. "I won't let her experience the same abandonment I did." The words stung, but Dominic nodded. "That's fair. How do I prove that to you?" "Time," she said simply. "Consistency. Show up when you say you will. Be present, not just with your money, but with yourself." "I can do that," he promised. "Will you let me see her again?" Eliza considered this. "We could start with regular visits, as my old friend for now. If that goes well, we can discuss telling her the truth." "Thank you," Dominic said, relief washing over him. "I know I don't deserve this chance." "No, you don't," Eliza agreed. "But Lily deserves to know her father, if he's truly committed to being in her life." They rejoined Lily, who was full of excitement about the sea lions. As they prepared to part ways, Lily surprised Dominic by asking, "Will we see you again, Mr. Reeves?" "I'd like that very much," he replied, looking to Eliza for confirmation. "Mr. Reeves will be visiting the city regularly," Eliza said. "Perhaps we can get together again soon." Lily smiled, and Dominic felt something shift inside him, a piece of his heart that had been missing for 12 years sliding back into place. Most people never see a redemption arc this raw until it's too late. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story that reminds you what second chances cost. If you're still not hitting it, tell us what's holding you back in the comments. Over the next 6 months, Dominic restructured his entire life around his newfound family. He delegated more responsibilities at Horizon Technologies, established a permanent residence in New York instead of constantly traveling, and scheduled his calendar around Lily's school events and activities. His executive team was baffled by the change in their workaholic CEO, but Dominic was past caring about their opinions. For the first time in his adult life, his priorities were clear. He became a regular presence at Lily's violin recitals, science competitions, and weekend outings. Always introduced as Mom's friend, but gradually becoming something more, a trusted adult in Lily's life, someone she looked forward to seeing. "Mr. Reeves is coming to my science fair, right?" Lily asked Eliza one evening, as Dominic was preparing to leave after dinner. "If he can make it," Eliza replied cautiously. "I wouldn't miss it," Dominic assured her. "I've already cleared my schedule." Lily beamed. "Good, because I'm demonstrating a program I wrote that analyzes weather patterns. I think you'll like it." The science fair fell on the same day as a crucial investor meeting. Without hesitation, Dominic sent Marcus in his place, despite the board's concerns. "Family emergency," he told them simply, offering no further explanation. He arrived at the school gymnasium early, helping Lily set up her display, watching with pride as she confidently explained her project to the judges. When she won first place, her excited hug was spontaneous and brief, but it meant everything to him. His relationship with Eliza evolved too, from tense politeness to a cautious friendship. They began to rediscover the connection that had drawn them together in college, before ambition and fear had torn them apart. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed following a day at the Museum of Natural History, Eliza invited Dominic to stay for coffee. "She asked about you today," Eliza said, handing him a steaming mug. "When you went to take that business call." Dominic's heart skipped. "What did she say?" "She asked if you were my boyfriend." Eliza's lips quirked in a small smile. "When I said no, she looked disappointed." "What did you tell her?" "The truth, that we were very close once, a long time ago." Eliza sat across from him, at her modest kitchen table. "I think it's time, Dominic. She deserves to know who you really are." He set down his mug, suddenly nervous. "Are you sure? Are you ready for that?" "The question is, are you ready?" Eliza challenged. "This isn't a part-time commitment. Once she knows you're her father, you can't walk away again. Ever." "I'm ready," Dominic said without hesitation. "Being in Lily's life, in both your lives, is the only thing that matters to me now." Eliza studied him, searching for any hint of uncertainty. Finding none, she nodded. We'll tell her this weekend. That Saturday morning, Dominic arrived at Eliza's modest Queens townhouse with a knot in his stomach. This was the moment that would change everything. Lily greeted him with her usual enthusiasm, showing him her latest coding project before Eliza gently interrupted. Lily, sweetheart, Mr. Reeves and I need to talk to you about something important. The girl's expression grew serious as they sat together in the living room. Eliza took a deep breath and began. Remember how I told you that your father died before you were born? Lily nodded, glancing between them with growing confusion. That wasn't the truth, Eliza continued softly. I told you that because I thought it was better than what really happened. I don't understand, Lily said, her voice small. Dominic leaned forward. Lily, I'm your father. The silence that followed was deafening. Lily stared at him, then at her mother, her brilliant mind visibly processing this revelation. But you said he was dead, she finally whispered to Eliza, hurt evident in her voice. I know, sweetheart, and I'm so sorry for lying to you. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. When you were born, your father and I weren't together anymore. He didn't know about you. You didn't tell him about me? Lily asked, confusion turning to anger. I tried, Eliza said, but things were complicated. I made a terrible mistake, Dominic interjected, drawing Lily's attention. When your mother and I were younger, I chose my career over our relationship. I didn't know she was pregnant when I left. By the time I tried to find her again, years later, she had moved and changed her contact information. So you didn't abandon me on purpose? Lily asked, a flicker of hope in her eyes. No, Dominic said firmly. If I had known about you, I would have been there. Not knowing you has been the greatest regret of my life. Lily turned back to her mother. Why did you tell me he was dead? Eliza wiped away a tear. Because I was hurt and angry. And later, because I thought it would be easier for you than knowing your father had chosen not to be with us. I was wrong, and I'm so sorry. Lily sat in silence, processing everything. Finally, she looked at Dominic. So, all these months, when you've been visiting, you knew you were my dad. Yes, he admitted. Your mother wanted to make sure I was serious about being in your life before we told you the truth. Are you? Lily asked directly. Serious about it? More serious than I've ever been about anything, Dominic promised. I've missed 11 years of your life. I don't want to miss another day. Lily considered this, then asked the question that had clearly been bothering her. Are you two getting back together? Eliza and Dominic exchanged a glance. That's not what this is about, Eliza said gently. Right now, we're focused on you. I need some time to think, Lily announced, standing up. Can I go to my room? Of course, Eliza said. Take all the time you need. After Lily left, Dominic and Eliza sat in tense silence. That went, Dominic began. About as well as could be expected, Eliza finished. She's processing. She's brilliant, but she's still 11. What happens now? We wait, Eliza said simply, and we let her set the pace. The following weeks were challenging. Lily alternated between curiosity about Dominic and anger over the deception. She peppered him with questions about his life, his company, his family background, filling in the blanks of her own identity. But she also maintained an emotional distance, not yet ready to accept him fully as her father. Did you ever think about me? She asked one afternoon as they walked through a bookstore, Eliza having stepped away to take a call. Before you knew I existed, I mean. The question caught Dominic off guard. I thought about what might have been, he answered honestly. About the family your mother and I might have had, if I hadn't been so focused on my company. Do you regret it? Building your company instead of staying with Mom? Dominic considered his answer carefully. I regret the choice I made. I regret hurting your mother. But I can't regret the path that led me here, to knowing you. I just wish I'd found a way to have both, the company and my family. Lily nodded, absorbing his words. Mom says I have your eyes, and your stubbornness. Dominic smiled. She's right about both, but you have her heart, her compassion. That's far more important. One evening, as Dominic was preparing to leave after dinner, Lily approached him with a school flyer. There's a father-daughter dance at school next Friday, she said, not quite meeting his eyes. Mom said I should ask if you want to go. with me. Dominic's heart soared. I would be honored, Lily, truly honored. She nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. It's formal. You have to wear a tie. I think I can manage that, he said, fighting back emotion. The night of the dance, Dominic arrived in a simple black suit, determined not to overwhelm the event with his wealth or status. This night wasn't about Dominic Reeves, Billionaire CEO. It was about being Lily's father. Lily emerged from her bedroom in a blue dress, her dark hair styled in an elegant braid that Eliza had helped her with. You look beautiful, Dominic said sincerely. Thanks, she replied, a blush coloring her cheeks. Mom says I clean up okay. Eliza stood in the hallway, watching them with a mixture of emotions on her face. Have fun, you two. And Dominic, have her home by 10. Yes, ma'am, he replied with a small smile. At the school gymnasium, decorated with twinkling lights and paper streamers, Dominic felt more nervous than he had during his company's IPO. This mattered more. As they joined other fathers and daughters on the dance floor, Lily kept a careful distance between them, still uncertain. But as the evening progressed, something shifted. During a slow song, she stepped closer, allowing him to lead properly. My friends think it's cool that my dad is famous, she said suddenly. I told them the truth, that you didn't know about me until recently. What did they say? Dominic asked carefully. Lily shrugged. Sophia said it was like a movie. Tyler said you should buy me a pony to make up for it. Dominic chuckled. Do you want a pony? No, she said seriously, but I've been thinking about what I do want. Which is, I want you to be my dad. For real. She looked up at him, vulnerability in her eyes. Not just someone who visits sometimes. But I'm scared you'll leave again when you get busy with your company. Dominic stopped dancing, kneeling down to meet her at eye level, oblivious to the other dancers around them. Lily, listen to me. Nothing, no company, no amount of money, nothing in this world is more important to me than being your father. I will never leave you again. That's a promise. Lily studied his face, searching for any sign of insincerity. Finding none, she nodded once, decisively. Okay, she said. Then I think I'd like to call you Dad, if that's all right. Dominic blinked back tears. That would make me the happiest man in the world. If you've made it this far and still haven't subscribed, why? You clearly care enough to stay through the pain. Don't pretend it didn't move you. Hit subscribe now. The ones who skip it always come back saying they regretted it. As spring turned to summer, the three of them settled into a new normal. Dominic purchased a brownstone just a few blocks from Eliza and Lily, wanting to be close without intruding on their established life. He adjusted his work schedule to be present for Lily's activities, delegating more responsibilities to his executive team. One warm evening, as Lily practiced violin in her room, Dominic and Eliza sat on her small back patio, sharing a bottle of wine. She's auditioning for the Youth Symphony next month, Eliza said. She's nervous, though she won't admit it. She'll be brilliant, Dominic replied confidently. She gets her determination from you. Eliza smiled, and her perfectionism from you. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the kind that only comes from shared history and mutual understanding. I never thanked you, Dominic said suddenly. For what? For giving me another chance. For raising our daughter to be such an incredible person. For not hating me, even though you had every right to. Eliza looked at him thoughtfully. I did hate you for a long time, but hate is exhausting to maintain. And seeing you with Lily these past months, you're not the same man who walked away 12 years ago. No, he agreed. I'm not. What changed you? She asked, genuinely curious. Dominic considered the question. Perspective, I suppose. Success didn't bring the fulfillment I expected, and then seeing your photo, realizing what I'd lost. It was like waking up from a long, empty dream. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the years between them seemed to dissolve. Dominic found himself leaning forward slightly, drawn to her as he had been all those years ago. Eliza broke the moment, standing to refill her wine glass. We should focus on Lily, she said, though her voice held a hint of regret. Anything else would complicate things. You're right, Dominic agreed, though his heart disagreed. Lily comes first. The revelation came unexpectedly. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Dominic received an urgent call from Eliza. While in a board meeting, Lily's in the hospital, she said, her voice tight with fear. She collapsed during gym class. Dominic left the meeting without explanation, racing through Manhattan traffic to reach the hospital. He found Eliza in the pediatric ward, pacing anxiously. What happened? He demanded. Where is she? They're running tests, Eliza said, her face pale. They mentioned something about her heart. They need a complete family medical history. Dominic froze. My father died of heart failure. He had a congenital condition. Eliza's eyes widened. You never told me that. It never came up when we were together, and I was tested. I don't have the gene. A doctor approached them, clipboard in hand. Miss Morgan? Mr. Reeves? We have Lily's preliminary results. The diagnosis was a rare heart condition, one that required immediate surgery. As the doctor explained the procedure, Dominic felt the world narrowing to a single point, his daughter's life hanging in the balance. She'll need a blood transfusion during surgery, the doctor explained. Her blood type is somewhat rare. I'm a match, Dominic said immediately. Test me. The hours of waiting during Lily's surgery were the longest of Dominic's life. He and Eliza sat side by side in the waiting room, hands clasped tightly together, all past grievances forgotten in the face of their shared fear. She has to be okay, Eliza whispered. She has to. She will be, Dominic promised, with more confidence than he felt. She's strong, like her mother. When the surgeon finally emerged, his tired smile told them everything they needed to know before he even spoke. The surgery was successful. Lily's in recovery now. You can see her soon. The relief was overwhelming. Eliza collapsed against Dominic, sobbing quietly, and he held her close, his own tears falling freely. In that moment of shared vulnerability, something shifted between them, a recognition that, despite everything that had happened, they were bound together by something stronger than past mistakes, by their love for the remarkable young girl who was part of both of them. Lily's recovery was slow but steady. During her weeks in the hospital, Dominic never left her side, working remotely when necessary, but prioritizing his daughter above all else. Eliza watched this dedication with growing appreciation, seeing the man she had once loved emerge from behind the successful businessman he had become. You don't have to stay every night, she told him one evening, as they shared a cafeteria dinner while Lily slept. I know you have a company to run. The company can run without me for a while, Dominic replied. This is where I need to be. On the day Lily was finally released from the hospital, Dominic had a surprise waiting. He had transformed the third floor of his brownstone into a recovery suite for her, a bright, cheerful space with a hospital bed, but also her books, violin, and a state-of-the-art computer setup for her coding projects. What's this? Lily asked, looking around in wonder. I thought you might be more comfortable here while you recover, Dominic explained. Your mom can stay too. There's a guest room right next door, but only if you both want to. Lily looked to her mother questioningly. It would be easier than navigating the stairs at our place, Eliza admitted, but it's up to you, sweetheart. I'd like to stay, Lily decided, but only if Mom stays too. And so they became a temporary household, Dominic, Eliza, and Lily, navigating not only Lily's recovery, but also the delicate balance of their evolving relationships. One evening, after Lily had fallen asleep, Dominic found Eliza on the rooftop terrace, gazing at the city lights. Penny for your thoughts? He asked, joining her at the railing. I was just thinking about how strange life is, she replied. 12 years ago, I never would have imagined us here. Regrets? He asked softly. Eliza considered this. About lying to Lily? Yes. About the rest? I don't know. Everything that happened led us to this moment, and I can't regret anything that gave me our daughter. Dominic nodded, understanding completely. When I saw her in that hospital bed, so small and vulnerable, I realized something. What's that? That all the success, all the money, all the recognition, none of it matters compared to the people we love. He turned to face her. I never stopped loving you, Eliza. Even when I convinced myself that my ambition was more important, a part of me always knew what I had lost. Eliza's eyes glistened in the moonlight. Dominic, I'm not asking for anything, he assured her quickly. I know I lost that right long ago. I just wanted you to know. She was quiet for a long moment. When you left, she finally said, I promised myself I would never let anyone hurt me that way again. I built walls around my heart, To protect myself and Lily. I understand, Dominic said, preparing himself for rejection. But these past months, watching you with our daughter, seeing how completely you've changed your life for her, those walls have started to crumble. Eliza met his gaze directly. I'm scared, Dominic. Scared to trust you again. I know, he acknowledged, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving that your trust isn't misplaced, if you'll give me that chance. Slowly, hesitantly, Eliza reached for his hand. Maybe we could start with dinner, just the two of us, see where it leads. Dominic smiled, hope blooming in his chest. I'd like that very much. As Lily's recovery progressed, their family dynamic evolved. Dominic found himself looking forward to simple moments, helping Lily with her homework, making breakfast for the three of them, watching movies together on the couch. The life he had once rejected now seemed like the only one worth living. Dad? Lily asked one evening, as they worked on a coding project together. It still thrilled him to hear her call him that. Why did you choose your company over Mom back then? Dominic set down his tablet, giving the question the serious consideration it deserved. I was young and foolish. I thought success meant building something big, something that would change the world. I didn't understand that the most important things we build are our relationships. But your company did change the world, Lily pointed out. Yes, but at what cost? Dominic replied. I missed 12 years with you. I hurt your mother deeply. No amount of success is worth that. Lily considered this. I'm glad you came back. So am I, sweetheart. More than you can possibly know. As summer turned to fall, they faced a decision. Lily was fully recovered, ready to return to school. The temporary living arrangement had worked well, but it couldn't continue indefinitely. We should talk about what happens next, Eliza said one evening after Lily had gone to bed. I've been thinking about that, Dominic admitted. I don't want to go back to how things were before, seeing Lily on weekends, living separately. These past weeks, being a real family. It's everything I never knew I wanted. What are you suggesting? Eliza asked cautiously. I'm not suggesting anything yet, Dominic replied. I'm asking what you want, Eliza. What would make you happy? She looked at him thoughtfully. I want Lily to have both her parents in her life. I want her to be happy and secure. And I want... What? He prompted gently when she hesitated. I want to stop being afraid of being hurt again. She finished quietly. I want to trust that this time, you're here to stay. Dominic took her hands in his. I am. I promise you, Eliza. I'm not going anywhere. Their first official date was simple. Dinner at a quiet restaurant near the brownstone, with Lily's enthusiastic blessing. Finally, she had exclaimed when they told her, I was wondering when you two would figure it out. They talked for hours, rediscovering each other, acknowledging the changes time had wrought in both of them. Eliza was stronger now, more confident. Dominic was humbler, more grounded. They were different people than they had been 12 years ago. Perhaps better suited to each other now than they had been then. I never dated much after you, Eliza admitted over dessert. A few relationships, nothing serious. Lily was always my priority. I dated, Dominic confessed, beautiful, accomplished women who looked good in society pages, but I never connected with any of them. Not really. And now? Eliza asked, a hint of vulnerability in her question. Now I know what I was missing, he replied simply. What I was looking for all along. Their relationship progressed slowly, cautiously. Weekend outings as a family. Quiet evenings together. After Lily went to bed. Rebuilding trust. One day at a time. 3 months after Lily's surgery, Dominic took Eliza back to Central Park, to the Bethesda fountain where he had first met his daughter. I have something to ask you, he said, as they stood watching the water. Dominic, Eliza began, a warning in her voice. Not that, he assured her with a smile. Not yet, anyway. I wanted to ask if you and Lily would consider moving in with me. Or we could find a new place together, somewhere that would be ours. I don't want to miss any more time with either of you. Eliza was quiet for a long moment. Are you sure about this? It's a big step. I've never been more sure of anything, Dominic replied. These past months have shown me what really matters. I want us to be a family, Eliza. A real family. She studied his face, searching for any hint of doubt. Finding none, she smiled. We should probably ask Lily what she thinks. Lily, predictably, was thrilled with the idea. Does this mean I get a bigger room for all my tech stuff? She asked pragmatically. It means whatever we want it to mean, Dominic told her. We'll find the perfect place together. They found a spacious house in a quiet neighborhood, with a garden for Eliza, a home office for Dominic, and a room for Lily that could accommodate both her violin practice and her growing collection of computer equipment. It wasn't as luxurious as Dominic's penthouse, but it felt like home in a way the penthouse never had. Moving day was chaotic, filled with boxes and decisions about furniture and good-natured arguments about where everything should go. By evening, exhausted but happy, they collapsed on the couch, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. We did it, Eliza said, leaning against Dominic's shoulder. We're just getting started, he replied, kissing the top of her head. Lily appeared in the doorway, holding a framed photograph. Where should we put this? It was a picture of the three of them, taken at Lily's first violin recital after her recovery. Lily in the center, beaming with pride. Eliza and Dominic on either side, their faces reflecting the same joy. How about right here? Dominic suggested, pointing to the mantelpiece, where everyone can see it. Lily placed the photo carefully, then stepped back to admire it. Perfect, she declared. Our family. Our family. The words filled Dominic with a happiness he had never known was possible. 6 months later, on Lily's 12th birthday, Dominic planned a special celebration. The day began with breakfast in bed, chocolate chip pancakes, Lily's favorite, followed by a family outing to the Museum of Natural History, where a special exhibit on computational science had caught her interest. This is the best birthday ever, Lily declared as they explored the interactive displays. It's not over yet, Dominic promised. We have dinner reservations, and then... And then what? Lily asked eagerly. You'll see, he replied with a wink at Eliza, who smiled knowingly. Dinner was at Lily's favorite restaurant, where the staff had decorated their table with balloons and a happy birthday banner. After the meal, instead of bringing out a cake, the waiter presented Lily with a small gift box. What's this? She asked, looking between her parents in confusion. Open it and find out, Eliza encouraged. Inside was a key, attached to a keychain with a small violin charm. A key? Lily looked puzzled. To what? To your studio, Dominic explained. We converted the garden shed into a recording and coding space for you. Soundproofed walls, professional equipment, everything you need for your music and your programming. Lily's eyes widened. Really? My own studio? Really, Eliza confirmed. Your father designed it himself. Can we go see it now? Lily asked, practically bouncing in her seat. That's the plan, Dominic said, signaling for the check. The studio was everything Dominic had promised. A perfect blend of technology and artistry, with a recording booth for Lily's violin, a workstation for her coding projects, and comfortable seating for when inspiration struck. Lily explored every corner, touching the equipment reverently. This is amazing, she breathed. Thank you both so much. There's one more surprise, Dominic said, exchanging a glance with Eliza. Something we wanted to ask you. Lily looked up expectantly. Dominic took Eliza's hand. Lily, your mother and I have been talking, and, well, we'd like to be a family in every way. I've asked your mother to marry me again, and she's said yes. But, Eliza added quickly, we wanted to make sure you were okay with it before we made any plans. Lily's face broke into a radiant smile. Are you kidding? This is what I've been hoping for. She threw her arms around both of them, and they stood there in a family embrace, the circle finally complete. The wedding was small and intimate, held in the garden of their new home, with only close friends and family in attendance. Lily served as her mother's maid of honor, beaming with pride as she watched her parents exchange vows, promises that meant so much more this time, tempered by experience and the knowledge of what they had almost lost. I, Dominic, take you, Eliza, to be my wife again, he said, his voice steady and sure. I promise to cherish every day with you and Lily, to never again put anything before my family, and to spend the rest of my life making up for the time we lost. I, Eliza, take you, Dominic, to be my husband again, she replied, tears glistening in her eyes. I promise to trust in our future together, to embrace this second chance we've been given, and to remember always that love is stronger than fear. As they sealed their vows with a kiss, Lily cheered louder than anyone, her face alight with joy. The reception was filled with laughter and music. Lily performed a violin piece she had composed especially for the occasion, titled Second Chances, moving both her parents to tears. Later, as Dominic and Eliza shared their first dance as husband and wife again, he whispered in her ear, "Thank you for the lie that saved our daughter, and for the truth that saved me." Eliza pulled back slightly to look into his eyes. "I never thought we'd end up here, when I told you the baby didn't make it." "You were protecting her," Dominic finished. "You did what you thought was right. And now? Now we do what we know is right. We build the life we should have had all along." 1 year after their wedding, the family stood together on the deck of their vacation home on the coast of Maine, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Lily, now 13 and growing taller by the day, sat cross-legged on the railing, her ever-present notebook open as she sketched the scene. "I have news," she announced suddenly, closing her notebook. "I got accepted to that summer coding program at MIT. "Lily, that's wonderful!" Eliza exclaimed. "They rarely accept students your age." "They made an exception when they saw my project," Lily said, trying to sound casual but unable to hide her pride. "And maybe because Dad went there." "Your project earned that spot," Dominic assured her, "though I may have mentioned to the director that my brilliant daughter was applying." Lily rolled her eyes good-naturedly. "I knew it." "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," Eliza said, hugging her daughter. "You've worked so hard for this." As Lily went inside to call her best friend with the news, Dominic wrapped his arm around Eliza's waist, pulling her close. "She's remarkable," he said softly, "just like her mother." "She has your drive," Eliza replied. "And thankfully, your heart is stronger than your father's." The mention of Lily's health scare still brought a shadow to Dominic's face. Though she had fully recovered, the fear of those days in the hospital had left its mark on all of them. "I have news too," Eliza said, changing the subject. "The school board approved my proposal for the STEM program. We'll be launching it next fall." "That's fantastic," Dominic said sincerely. "You've worked so hard on that curriculum." Under Eliza's leadership, Oak Ridge Elementary had become a model for innovative education, particularly in science and technology. Dominic had established a foundation to support similar programs in underfunded schools across the country, with Eliza serving as educational director. "I couldn't have done it without your foundation's support," she acknowledged. "The foundation is just money," Dominic replied. "The vision is all yours." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the last rays of sunlight disappear below the horizon. After a moment, Eliza spoke again, her voice soft. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't seen that article about me? If we had never reconnected?" Dominic considered the question. "I'd like to think I would have found you eventually. That somehow, the universe would have brought us back together." "That's surprisingly romantic coming from a tech CEO," Eliza teased. "I've learned a few things about what really matters," he replied, kissing her gently. "And, speaking of what matters, there's something I've been wanting to discuss with you." "Oh?" Eliza turned to face him, curiosity in her eyes. "What would you think about giving Lily a sibling?" Eliza's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Completely," Dominic assured her. "I missed so much with Lily. The chance to experience it all from the beginning. With you, with us as a family, it would mean everything to me." "I'm not exactly young anymore," Eliza pointed out. "I'm 41. Still well within the range of possibility," Dominic countered. "But only if it's something you want too." Eliza was quiet for a moment, considering. "I always did want more children," she admitted. "Before everything happened with us, I had imagined a house full of kids." "So is that a maybe?" Dominic asked hopefully. Eliza smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. We can start trying and see what happens." Dominic pulled her close, his heart full. "I love you, Eliza Reeves. I love you too, Dominic Reeves, even when you're impossible. Especially then," he murmured against her lips. Inside the house, Lily watched her parents through the window, a smile playing on her lips. She had overheard their conversation about a sibling and was already mentally designing the perfect nursery, complete with a state-of-the-art baby monitor system she could program herself. Her family had been broken before she was even born, fractured by ambition and fear, and a lie told in desperation. But now, against all odds, they had found their way back to each other, whole, complete, and possibly growing. Lily opened her notebook again, turning to a fresh page. At the top, she wrote, "The algorithm of second chances, how probability favors the brave." It would make an excellent science fair project, she decided, and an even better story to tell her future siblings someday. They got their second chance. You might not get yours. Subscribe not just to this channel, but to stories that remind you what really matters. And if you can honestly walk away without doing it, at least own it in the comments. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn morning, Dominic stood in the doorway of his home office, watching as Lily helped Eliza prepare breakfast. His daughter was explaining some complex coding concept, her hands moving animatedly as she spoke, while Eliza listened with genuine interest, occasionally asking questions that showed she was following along. The scene filled him with a contentment he had never imagined possible in his previous life of boardrooms and business deals. This simple moment of family connection was worth more than all the billions in his bank account. His phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. "Board meeting in 30. Calling in?" Dominic typed a quick reply. Yes, but only for the first hour. Family commitment after. The family commitment was Lily's violin recital at school, an event he wouldn't miss for anything in the world. He had restructured his entire company around his priorities now, working remotely 3 days a week and delegating far more than he ever had before. Horizon Technologies continued to thrive, perhaps even more so with a CEO who had discovered the importance of work-life balance. "Dad," Lily called from the kitchen. "Mom's making blueberry pancakes. Your favorite." "Be right there," he replied, setting his phone aside. As he joined his family at the breakfast table, Dominic reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The ambitious young entrepreneur who had walked away from love for the promise of success seemed like a stranger to him now, a cautionary tale rather than a past self. "You're quiet this morning," Eliza observed, passing him a cup of coffee. "Just thinking about how lucky I am," he replied, squeezing her hand. Her smile held understanding. She knew better than anyone the cost of the choices they had both made, and the miracle of their second chance. After breakfast, as Lily gathered her school things, Eliza pulled Dominic aside, a mixture of nervousness and excitement in her eyes. "I was going to wait until tonight, but I don't think I can," she said softly. "I took a test this morning." Dominic's heart skipped a beat. And in about 7 months, Lily's going to be a big sister. Joy surged through him, pure and overwhelming. He pulled Eliza into his arms, holding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world, which, to him, she was. "We're having a baby," he whispered, the words a prayer of gratitude. "We're having a baby," she confirmed, tears of happiness in her eyes. Later that evening, after they had shared the news with an ecstatic Lily, who immediately began making lists of potential names and necessary baby equipment, Dominic stood once again at a window, looking out at the night sky. But this time, instead of the empty solitude of his penthouse, he was surrounded by the warmth of his home, the sounds of his family, the promise of a future brighter than he deserved. The lie that had kept him from his daughter for 11 years had been born of pain and fear. But from that lie, a greater truth had eventually emerged, that success without love is no success at all, that second chances are precious beyond measure, and that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. Dominic Reeves, Billionaire CEO, had everything a man could want: a thriving company, global recognition, material wealth beyond imagination. But Dominic Reeves, husband and father, had discovered something far more valuable: the true meaning of home. The news of Eliza's pregnancy spread quickly through their small circle of friends and family. Lily took her role as big sister to be with characteristic seriousness, researching child development and creating spreadsheets of everything they would need for the baby. "I think we should convert the guest room into a nursery," she announced one evening, laptop balanced on her knees as she sat cross-legged on the living room floor. "It gets the best morning light, and it's close to your bedroom." Dominic and Eliza exchanged amused glances. "We still have 7 months, sweetheart," Eliza reminded her. "Exactly," Lily replied, not looking up from her screen. "That's barely enough time to design and implement the perfect environment for optimal cognitive development." Dominic chuckled. She gets this from you, he told Eliza. The planning, the organization, and the obsession with optimization is all you, Eliza countered with a smile. As the pregnancy progressed, Dominic found himself experiencing all the emotions he had missed the first time around. The awe of seeing their baby on the ultrasound screen, the nervous anticipation of each doctor's appointment, the tender protectiveness he felt toward Eliza as her body changed. I can't believe I missed this with Lily, he said one night, his hand resting gently on Eliza's growing belly. I was such a fool. You're here now, Eliza replied softly. That's what matters. But the shadows of the past weren't so easily banished. As Eliza entered her second trimester, Dominic began having nightmares, vivid dreams where history repeated itself, where he lost his family all over again through his own arrogance and ambition. He would wake in a cold sweat, reaching for Eliza to reassure himself that she was still there, that this new life they had built was real and not just a cruel fantasy. Talk to me, Eliza urged one night, after a particularly bad episode had jolted him awake. What's going on? I'm afraid, Dominic admitted, his voice raw with emotion. Afraid that I don't deserve this happiness, that somehow I'll mess it up again. Eliza took his hand, placing it over her heart. Feel that? I'm real. We're real. The past is gone, Dominic. We can't change it, but we can learn from it. I just can't shake the feeling that I'm going to lose you both somehow. You won't, she promised. Not unless you choose to walk away again. And I don't think that's the man you are anymore. He pulled her close, drawing strength from her certainty. It's not. I swear it's not. The next day, Dominic made an appointment with a therapist, something he had never considered in his previous life. It was time to confront the fears that threatened his hard-won happiness, to ensure that the mistakes of the past remained firmly in the past. As Eliza's pregnancy advanced, Lily's excitement grew. She had taken to reading aloud to her mother's belly each night, alternating between classic children's books and simplified explanations of coding principles. The baby needs to know both, she explained seriously when Dominic raised an eyebrow at her selection of Python programming for beginners as bedtime reading, literature for creativity, and coding for logical thinking. Can't argue with that logic, Dominic conceded, his heart swelling with love for his brilliant daughter. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, a family ritual that had become sacred to Dominic, Lily asked a question that caught him off guard. Dad, do you ever regret not knowing about me when I was born? Dominic set down the knife he was using to chop vegetables, giving the question his full attention. Every day, he answered honestly. It's the greatest regret of my life. But if Mom hadn't told you I died, you might not have become so successful, Lily pointed out. You might have resented us for holding you back. The insight from his 13-year-old daughter was startling in its perception. That's possible, Dominic acknowledged. The man I was then. He wasn't ready to be a father. He thought success meant one thing: building a company, making money, being recognized. He didn't understand that real success is this family, love, connection. Lily considered this. So, in a way, Mom's lie protected both of us. Me from a father who wasn't ready, and you from making a choice you weren't prepared to make. That's a very generous way of looking at it, Dominic said, moved by his daughter's wisdom. I've thought about it a lot, Lily admitted. At first I was angry that you both lied to me. But now I think maybe everything happened the way it needed to. You found us when you were ready to be a real dad. Dominic pulled her into a hug, marveling at the emotional intelligence of this child he had almost missed knowing. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise, Lily replied with a grin. You just weren't around to notice. The teasing was gentle now, without the edge of hurt it had once carried. Another sign of healing, of the bonds growing stronger between them. Later that night, Dominic recounted the conversation to Eliza as they prepared for bed. She's remarkable, he said. The way she sees things, the way she processes emotions. She's more mature than I was at twice her age. She's had to be, Eliza replied softly. Growing up believing her father was dead, then, learning the truth, it forced her to grapple with complex emotions early on. Dominic's expression grew serious. Do you think she's really forgiven us? For the lies? I think she's working on it, Eliza said thoughtfully. just as we're working on forgiving ourselves. It's a process, not an event. I want to do better with this baby, Dominic said, his hand resting on Eliza's rounded belly. No lies, no missed moments. We will, Eliza assured him. We've both learned from our mistakes. As the due date approached, Dominic found himself increasingly protective of Eliza. He rearranged his schedule to be home more, installed a state-of-the-art security system in their house, and researched the best obstetricians in the city. You're hovering, Eliza told him one afternoon, as he insisted on carrying a laundry basket that she could easily manage. I'm being attentive, he corrected with a smile. You're being overprotective, she countered. I'm pregnant, not incapacitated. Humor me, Dominic requested. I missed taking care of you the first time. Eliza's expression softened. All right, but only because you're cute when you're worried. The baby's room came together gradually, a labor of love from all three of them. Dominic assembled furniture, Eliza arranged books and toys, and Lily programmed a custom light and sound system that could simulate everything from gentle rainfall to the sounds of the ocean. For optimal sleep patterns, she explained, demonstrating the app she had created to control it all. One evening, as they put the finishing touches on the nursery, Dominic found himself overwhelmed by emotion. This was everything he had walked away from 12 years ago. The chance to build a family, to create a home filled with love and laughter, to be part of something more meaningful than any business empire. Are you okay? Elisa asked, noticing his expression. Better than okay, he replied, his voice thick. I'm just grateful for second chances, for you and Lily, for this baby. Eliza took his hand, understanding in her eyes. We're grateful for you too, you know. The man you've become. The baby. A boy they had decided to name James, after Eliza's father, arrived 2 weeks early, on a stormy night in April. Dominic had been in the middle of a video conference when Eliza called, her voice calm but urgent. It's time, she said simply. He ended the call without explanation, breaking every speed limit between his office and their home. Lily was already helping Eliza with her hospital bag, remarkably composed for a 13-year-old. I've got the contraction timer app running, she informed Dominic as he burst through the door. They're 7 minutes apart and lasting about 45 seconds. You're amazing, he told her, kissing the top of her head before turning to Eliza. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to have a baby, she replied with a strained smile. Let's go. The drive to the hospital was tense, with Dominic navigating through the rain while Eliza breathed through contractions in the passenger seat, and Lily provided updates from the back. 6 minutes now, she reported. The app says we should be at the hospital. Almost there, Dominic assured them, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Unlike Lily's birth, which Dominic had missed entirely, he was present for every moment of his son's arrival. He held Eliza's hand through each contraction, wiped her brow, and whispered words of encouragement as she labored. You're doing beautifully, he told her. You're the strongest person I've ever known. When James finally entered the world, red-faced and squalling, Dominic felt his heart expand in ways he hadn't known were possible. The nurse placed the tiny bundle in his arms, and he stared down at his son in wonder. Hello, James, he whispered. I'm your dad, and I promise I'll be here for you, every single day. Eliza watched them from the bed, exhausted but radiant. He looks like you, she observed. Same determined chin. Poor kid, Dominic joked, his eyes never leaving his son's face. When Lily was allowed in to meet her brother, her usual composure gave way to unrestrained joy. He's perfect, she declared, gently touching James's tiny fingers. Hi, James. I'm your big sister, and I've been waiting for you for a really long time. The family portrait was complete. Eliza, Dominic, Lily, and now James. A second chance at happiness that none of them had dared to imagine possible. The first few months with James were a blur of midnight feedings, diaper changes, and the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that Dominic had never experienced in his business career. But unlike the stress of corporate life, this exhaustion came with a profound joy that made every sleepless night worthwhile. I had no idea it was this intense, he admitted one night, as he paced the nursery with a fussing James while Eliza tried to get some much-needed rest. How did you do this alone with Lily? My mother helped, Eliza replied from the doorway, where she had appeared despite his attempts to let her sleep. And I was younger then, but mostly, you just do what you have to do. Dominic looked at her with renewed respect. You're incredible, you know that? What you did, raising Lily on your own. I'm in awe of you. Eliza smiled tiredly. It wasn't always pretty. There were nights I cried right along with her, wondering if I'd made the right choice. You did, Dominic assured her. Even if I wasn't ready then, you gave her life. You gave her everything she needed. And now she has you too, Eliza said softly, which is all she ever wanted, even when she didn't know it. Lily adapted to big sisterhood with characteristic determination, creating a detailed schedule to help with James's care around her school and activities. She read parenting books, researched infant development, and took her responsibilities seriously. I've got 'em, she would assure her exhausted parents. You two rest. One Saturday morning, Dominic found Lily in the nursery, reading to James from a children's book about a father who built a treehouse for his children. And even though he was very busy, the daddy always made time for what was most important, she read, her voice gentle. Dominic leaned against the doorframe, listening. That's like our daddy, Lily told James, who gazed up at her with wide, attentive eyes. He's very important at his company, but he always makes time for us now. And he built me a studio instead of a treehouse, which is way better. The simple statement, delivered without any awareness of being overheard, filled Dominic with a mixture of pride and humility. In Lily's eyes, he had become the father she needed, present, attentive, prioritizing his family above all else. It was the greatest achievement of his life. As James grew from newborn to infant, Dominic found himself treasuring moments he would once have overlooked. The first real smile, the way tiny fingers curled around his thumb, the peaceful weight of his son sleeping on his chest. You're different with him, Eliza observed one evening, as they watched James practicing his newfound ability to roll over. More relaxed than you were with Lily at first. I was terrified with Lily, Dominic admitted, afraid I'd break her or mess her up somehow, afraid she'd never forgive me for missing so much of her life. And now I know that love is more important than perfection. That being present matters more than getting everything right. Eliza leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. You're a good father, Dominic, to both of them. I'm trying to be, he said softly. Every day. The balance between work and family remained a constant negotiation. Dominic had stepped back from the day-to-day operations of Horizon Technologies, but he was still the founder and CEO, still responsible for the company's overall direction and the livelihoods of thousands of employees. There were still early morning calls, still occasional travel, still moments when the demands of business intruded on family time. But unlike before, these were exceptions rather than the rule. And unlike before, Dominic never lost sight of what truly mattered. Go, Eliza would tell him when an unavoidable crisis demanded his attention. We'll be here when you get back. And he always came back, as quickly as possible, bearing small gifts and big hugs, never allowing work to reclaim the central place in his life that it had once occupied. On James's first birthday, they hosted a small celebration in their backyard. Lily had decorated with streamers and balloons, and Eliza had baked a cake shaped like a teddy bear. James, now walking with the assistance of furniture and occasionally brave enough to take a few steps on his own, was the center of attention, charming everyone with his infectious laugh. As Dominic watched his son smash cake into his face with gleeful abandon, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to find Marcus Chen, his COO and longtime colleague, watching him with an amused expression. I still can't quite believe it, Marcus said, gesturing to the domestic scene before them. Dominic Reeves, family man. Better late than never, Dominic replied with a smile. The board is starting to ask questions, Marcus said, his tone casual but his eyes serious. About your long-term plans, your reduced schedule. And what did you tell them? That you're still the visionary behind Horizon, still the best CEO we could have, but that you've found a better work-life balance. Dominic nodded thoughtfully. And what do you think, Marcus? You've been with me since the beginning. Marcus looked around at the birthday party, at Eliza helping James open a present, at Lily filming the moment on her tablet. I think you found what was missing, he said simply. And I think the company is better for it. You're more focused when you're there, more creative, less driven by something you can't name. I was running from emptiness, Dominic acknowledged, trying to fill a void with success. And now? Dominic smiled as James toddled toward him, arms outstretched. Now there is no void. He scooped up his son, who immediately grabbed his father's nose with sticky fingers. What do you think, James? Should Daddy keep working at the big company or stay home and play with you all day? Da-da-da, James replied solemnly, which everyone interpreted as they wished. Later that evening, after the guests had gone and the children were in bed, Dominic and Eliza sat on the porch swing, enjoying the peaceful end to a joyful day. Penny for your thoughts, Eliza said, noticing Dominic's contemplative expression. I was thinking about parallel universes, he replied. About the version of me that never saw that article about you, that never found his way back to you and Lily. That's rather philosophical for a birthday party, Eliza observed. James, turning 1. It makes me think about time, about choices. In that other universe, I'd still be alone in my penthouse, still thinking success meant stock prices and market share. You can't know that for sure, Eliza said gently. Maybe you would have found your way to us eventually through some other path. Maybe, Dominic conceded, but I'm grateful it happened when it did, that I didn't miss any more of Lily's life than I already had, that I get to be here for every moment of James's. Eliza rested her head against his shoulder. So am I. As James grew from baby to toddler, Lily from tween to teenager, their family settled into rhythms that felt both ordinary and miraculous to Dominic. School mornings were chaotic symphonies of breakfast preparations, lost shoes, and last-minute homework checks. Weekends were filled with Lily's violin performances, James's playground adventures, and family movie nights. Dominic treasured it all, the mundane and the momentous alike. He coached James's toddler soccer team, attended every one of Lily's science competitions, and never missed a parent-teacher conference. The man who had once measured his worth in stock prices and market share now found his richest rewards in his children's smiles and his wife's quiet contentment. But the past was never entirely behind them. On Lily's 14th birthday, as she unwrapped the new laptop Dominic had customized for her coding projects, she suddenly grew quiet. What's wrong, sweetheart? Eliza asked, noticing the shift in her daughter's mood. Don't you like it? I love it, Lily assured them. It's just, I was thinking about all the birthdays before, when I thought my dad was dead. The room fell silent. James, now 2.5, continued playing with wrapping paper, oblivious to the sudden tension. I'm so sorry, Lily, Dominic said softly. If I could go back and change things. That's not what I meant, Lily interrupted. I was thinking about how different everything is now, how complete it feels. She looked up at her parents, her eyes bright with emotion. I used to make wishes when I blew out my candles. Every year, the same wish. That somehow, my dad wasn't really dead. That he would come back to us. Eliza reached for her daughter's hand, her own eyes filling with tears. Oh, Lily. And then, it happened, Lily continued. Not the way I imagined, but it happened. You found us, Dad. You came back. Dominic knelt beside his daughter's chair, his heart full. Best decision I ever made, he told her, his voice rough with emotion. Finding you and your mom, it saved me, Lily, in ways I didn't even know I needed saving. Lily threw her arms around his neck, hugging him tightly. I'm glad you're my dad, she whispered, even if you were late to the party. The moment was interrupted by James, who toddled over with a fistful of discarded ribbon. Lily birthday, he announced, offering his gift with solemn importance. Lily laughed, wiping away tears as she accepted the crumpled ribbon. Thanks, buddy. It's perfect. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Dominic found Eliza in their bedroom, looking through an old photo album. What are you thinking about? He asked, sitting beside her on the bed. All the moments you missed, she replied honestly. All the birthdays and first steps and school plays. I missed a lot, Dominic acknowledged. But thanks to you, I didn't miss everything. You could have kept the truth from me forever. You could have turned Lily against me when I did show up. Instead, you gave us both a chance to know each other. Eliza closed the album, turning to face him. I was so angry with you for so long. When I told you the baby didn't make it, part of me wanted to hurt you, the way you'd hurt me. I deserved it, Dominic said simply. No one deserves that, Eliza countered. It was wrong of me, no matter how justified I felt. But I was young and heartbroken and terrified of raising a child alone. You did an amazing job, Dominic assured her. Lily is extraordinary, and that's because of you. She's extraordinary because she's herself, Eliza replied with a small smile. But thank you. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of the past acknowledged, but no longer a barrier between them. Do you think we should have another? Dominic asked, suddenly. Eliza's eyebrows rose.
Another baby? James is barely out of diapers.
I know, but he's growing so fast, and Lily's already talking about college applications. Before we know it, the house will be empty. Is that what this is about? Eliza asked gently. Fear of an empty nest? Dominic considered the question. Maybe partly, but also, I love our family. I love being a father, and I can't help thinking about what it would be like to have one more. Let me think about it, Eliza said, not dismissing the idea outright. A third child is a big decision. Of course, Dominic agreed. No pressure, just something to consider. As it turned out, the decision was made for them. 3 months later, Eliza placed a positive pregnancy test on the bathroom counter, a mixture of shock and joy on her face. I thought we were still in the considering phase, she said, as Dominic stared at the test in disbelief. Apparently the universe had other ideas, he replied, breaking into a grin. How do you feel about it? Surprised, Eliza admitted, a little overwhelmed, but is happy. You? Ecstatic, Dominic said, pulling her into his arms. Terrified, grateful, all of the above. Telling the children was an adventure in contrasts. James, now 3, was mainly concerned with whether the baby would play with his trucks. Lily, ever practical, immediately began researching the optimal age gap between siblings and creating a new family schedule to accommodate an infant. We'll need to adjust the morning routine, she informed her parents, spreadsheet already open on her laptop. And I can take over more of James's care to free you up for the baby. Slow down, sweetheart, Eliza laughed. We have months before the baby arrives, and you don't need to take on extra responsibilities. I want to help, Lily insisted. This is important to all of us. The pregnancy progressed smoothly, though Eliza found herself more tired than she had been with James. Dominic stepped up, taking on more household responsibilities and ensuring that both Lily and James still received plenty of attention. You're a natural at this, Eliza observed one evening, as Dominic managed to cook dinner while simultaneously helping James build a block tower and discussing Lily's science project. I had good teachers, he replied with a wink at Lily. The best. The baby, a girl they named Grace, arrived in the spring, completing their family in ways none of them had anticipated. She had Eliza's dark hair and Dominic's green eyes, a perfect blend of both her parents. She's so tiny, James whispered, peering at his new sister with cautious curiosity. You were that small once too, Lily told him, her arm around his shoulders. And now look how big you are. I'm a big brother now, James announced proudly. Like Lily is my big sister. That's right, buddy, Dominic confirmed, and you're going to be a great one. As they settled into life as a family of 5, Dominic found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. From the ambitious young entrepreneur who had walked away from love for the promise of success, to the man who had found his way back to what truly mattered. It had been a long and winding road, marked by mistakes and regrets, but ultimately leading to redemption. One evening, as he sat on the porch watching Lily teach James how to ride a bike while Eliza rocked baby Grace nearby, Dominic's phone buzzed with a notification. It was a reminder of a board meeting scheduled for the following morning, an important one, where strategic decisions about Horizon's future would be made. 5 years ago, such a meeting would have consumed his attention for days beforehand. He would have prepared obsessively, canceling all other commitments to focus solely on the business at hand. Now, he glanced at the reminder, made a mental note to review the agenda before bed, and turned his attention back to his family. The meeting was important, yes, but it wasn't everything. Not anymore. Dad, watch, James called, pedaling a few wobbly feet without Lily's steadying hand. I'm doing it. I see you, buddy, Dominic called back, his heart swelling with pride. You're amazing. Later, after the children were in bed, Dominic found Eliza in the nursery, watching Grace sleep in her crib. Penny, for your thoughts, he said softly, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I was thinking about that rainy day outside the hospital, she replied. When I told you our baby didn't make it. How different everything might have been if I'd told the truth. We can't change the past, Dominic said gently. Only learn from it.
I know, Eliza sighed. But sometimes I still feel guilty. All those years Lily didn't have her father. All those years you didn't know you had a daughter. And now we have this,
Dominic reminded her, gesturing to their sleeping baby, to the home they had built together.
A second chance, a new beginning.
3 children, Eliza mused, shaking her head with a smile. If someone had told me 5 years ago that this would be my life, would you change anything? Dominic asked, a hint of vulnerability in his question. Eliza turned in his arms to face him.
Not a thing, she assured him.
Every step, every mistake, every choice led us here. And here is exactly where I want to be. As Grace grew from infant to toddler, following in her siblings' footsteps, but blazing her own trail, with a determination that reminded everyone of both her parents, the Reeves family faced the usual challenges of any busy household. Scheduling conflicts, teenage mood swings, Lily was now 16 and applying to colleges, sibling rivalries, and the constant juggling act of work and family life. But through it all, they remained grounded in the knowledge of what truly mattered. The empire Dominic had built still stood, but its importance had diminished in the face of the family he had nearly lost and had been fortunate enough to find again. On the 5th anniversary of their reunion, the day Dominic had first seen Eliza's photo in that news article and felt his world shift on its axis, he surprised his wife with a weekend getaway, just the two of them. Lily, now a responsible 17-year-old with college acceptances from MIT and Stanford to consider, was more than capable of watching her younger siblings for a couple of days. Are you sure about this? Eliza asked, as they prepared to leave. We've never left all 3 of them before. Lily has my credit card for emergencies. My mother is on standby if they need an adult. And I've programmed all relevant numbers into the house system, Dominic assured her. They'll be fine, and we need this time together. The boutique hotel in the Berkshires was peaceful and secluded, a perfect retreat from their busy lives. As they walked hand in hand along a wooded trail, the autumn leaves a riot of color around them. Dominic felt a contentment he had never imagined possible in his previous life. Thank you for this, Eliza said, squeezing his hand. It's beautiful here. Not as beautiful as you, Dominic replied, earning an eye roll and a smile from his wife. Smooth talker. Always were. They found a clearing with a view of the mountains and sat on a fallen log, enjoying the crisp air and the rare moment of quiet. I've been thinking, Dominic said after a comfortable silence, about stepping down as CEO of Horizon. Eliza looked at him in surprise. Really? You love that company. You built it from nothing. I do love it, Dominic acknowledged. And I'm proud of what we've accomplished. But Marcus is more than ready to take over, and I'm ready for something new. Like what? I've been talking with some educational technology developers. There's an opportunity to create learning platforms that could reach underserved communities, make quality education more accessible, something that would complement your work with the school district. Eliza studied him thoughtfully. This isn't about feeling obligated to make up for the past, is it? Because you don't have to prove anything to me or the children. We know where your priorities are now. It's not about obligation, Dominic assured her. It's about purpose. About using what I've learned and built to make a difference in a new way. And yes, about having more flexibility as the kids grow up. I don't want to miss anything else. If it's what you really want, I support you completely, Eliza said. Just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. The right reason is sitting right beside me, Dominic replied, taking her hand. You showed me what really matters, Eliza. You and our children. Everything else is just details. That evening, over dinner in the hotel's intimate restaurant, Dominic presented Eliza with a small velvet box. What's this? She asked, surprised. It's not our anniversary. In a way, it is, Dominic replied. 5 years ago today, I saw your photo in that news article. 5 years ago today, my life changed forever. Eliza opened the box to find a delicate gold locket. Inside were tiny photos of their 3 children, Lily, James, and Grace.
It's beautiful, she whispered,
tears in her eyes. Turn it over, Dominic urged. Engraved on the back were the words for the lie that saved us both. Eliza looked up, emotion written across her face. You really believe that? That my lie saved us?
I do,
Dominic said sincerely. The man I was then, he wasn't ready to be a father. He would have resented the responsibility, might have caused more harm than good.
Your lie gave me time to become someone worthy of you and Lily. And when we found each other again, we were both ready for it to be right.
Eliza reached across the table, taking his hand. I never thought of it that way. I've carried the guilt of that lie for so long. Let it go, Dominic urged gently. It brought us here, to this moment, to the family we have now. How can I regret anything that led to this?
Later, as they stood on the balcony of their hotel room, looking up at the stars that were so much brighter away from the city lights, Eliza leaned against Dominic's chest, his arms wrapped around her.
Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't seen that article? She asked softly. If we had never reconnected? Sometimes, Dominic admitted. But I prefer to think that somehow we would have found our way back to each other eventually. That some things are just meant to be. That's surprisingly romantic coming from a tech CEO, Eliza teased, echoing words she had spoken years before. Former tech CEO, Dominic corrected with a smile. Soon to be educational technology innovator and full-time family man.
I like the sound of that, Eliza murmured, turning in his arms to kiss him.
The weekend passed too quickly, and soon they were heading home, refreshed and reconnected. As they pulled into their driveway, the front door burst open and James ran out to greet them, followed more sedately by Lily carrying Grace.
Mom, Dad, you're back,
James exclaimed, launching himself at Dominic with the boundless energy of a 5-year-old.
Lily, let me stay up until 9 last night.
Did she now? Eliza asked, raising an eyebrow at their eldest.
It was a special movie night, Lily explained, unrepentant. Family bonding.
Grace reached for her mother, babbling excitedly. At 18 months, she was just beginning to form words, though most were still incomprehensible to anyone outside the family.
I missed you too, sweet girl, Eliza said, taking her youngest into her arms. Were you good for your big sister?
She was an angel, Lily assured them. Unlike some people I could mention.
She gave James a pointed look, which he returned with an angelic smile.
I was good too, he insisted. Mostly.
As they entered the house, Dominic was struck by the simple joy of coming home. Not to an empty penthouse, but to this warm, chaotic, love-filled space that they had created together. The toys scattered across the living room floor. The science project materials spread across the dining table. The family photos covering every wall. All of it represented the life he had once walked away from and had been fortunate enough to reclaim.
Everything okay? Eliza asked, noticing his thoughtful expression.
Everything's perfect,
Dominic replied,
meaning it completely.
That night, after the children were in bed, Dominic sat in his home office, drafting the email that would officially begin his transition away from Horizon Technologies.
It was a momentous decision, stepping back from the company he had built from nothing, but it felt right. The ambitious young man who had once sacrificed everything for success would have been horrified. The man he had become understood that this wasn't an ending, but a beginning. As he worked, Lily appeared in the doorway, a mug of tea in her hands.
Thought you might need this, she said, placing it on his desk. Mom said you're working on something important.
Thank you, Dominic said, touched by the gesture.
And yes, I am. I'm preparing to step down as CEO of Horizon. Lily's eyes widened.
Seriously?
But that's your company.
You built it.
It is, and I did, Dominic acknowledged. But companies, like people, need to evolve. Marcus is ready to take the helm, and I'm ready for new challenges.
Lily studied him thoughtfully. Is this because of us? Because you feel like you need to make up for lost time?
The question was so similar to Eliza's that Dominic had to smile. His daughter had inherited her mother's perceptiveness along with her compassion.
It's because of what I've learned from all of you, he replied honestly, about what really matters, about the kind of legacy I want to leave.
Horizon will always be part of that legacy, but it's not the most important part, not anymore.
Lily nodded, seeming to understand. So, what will you do instead?
I'm looking at educational technology initiatives. Ways to make quality education more accessible to everyone, regardless of their circumstances. Like what Mom does with her school programs? Similar, but on a larger scale. Using technology to reach communities that might otherwise be left behind. Lily's face lit up with interest. That sounds amazing. Could I help? I mean, once I'm in college, maybe as an intern or something? Dominic felt a surge of pride and joy at his daughter's enthusiasm. I'd love that. We could make it a family enterprise. The Reeves Educational Initiative, Lily mused. It has a nice ring to it. It does, Dominic agreed. Though we'll need to come up with something catchier for the actual products. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, Lily's technical knowledge complementing Dominic's business experience in ways that excited them both. By the time she headed to bed, they had the beginnings of a business plan sketched out. Night, Dad, Lily said, pausing at the door. I'm really proud of you, you know, for making this change. The simple statement meant more to Dominic than any business award or recognition he had ever received. Thank you, sweetheart. That means everything to me. The transition took time, of course. There were board meetings to navigate, succession plans to implement, investors to reassure. But 6 months later, Dominic officially handed the reins of Horizon Technologies to Marcus Chen, remaining on the board but stepping back from day-to-day operations. The press release described it as a strategic evolution, but those who knew Dominic understood the truth. This was a man who had found something more valuable than corporate success, and was brave enough to prioritize it. The Reeves Educational Initiative launched the following year, with Dominic as founder and CEO, Eliza as educational director, and Lily contributing remotely from her freshman year at MIT. Their first project was a digital learning platform designed specifically for underserved rural communities, with offline capabilities and culturally relevant content. It's not going to make us billions, Dominic told a former colleague who questioned the business model, but it's going to make a difference, and that's worth more. As the years passed, their family continued to evolve and grow. Lily graduated from MIT with honors and joined the initiative full-time, bringing fresh ideas and technological innovations that expanded their reach globally. James, showing his father's entrepreneurial spirit and his mother's compassion, started a peer tutoring program at his high school that eventually became part of the initiative's youth outreach. Grace, the baby who had completed their family circle, revealed a talent for languages and cross-cultural communication that proved invaluable as the initiative expanded internationally. On Dominic and Eliza's 10th wedding anniversary, or first wedding anniversary, as Lily teasingly called it, they renewed their vows in a simple ceremony in their backyard, surrounded by the family they had built together. 10 years ago, Dominic said, holding Eliza's hands as they stood before their children and closest friends, I was given a second chance at love, at family, at life itself. I promised then to never again take for granted what truly matters, and I renew that promise today. 10 years ago, Eliza replied, her eyes shining with emotion. I opened my heart to trust again, to believe in second chances, to embrace a future I never thought possible. That leap of faith has brought me more joy than I ever imagined. As they sealed their renewed vows with a kiss, their children cheered. Lily, now 22 and beginning to make her own mark on the world. James, 10, and growing more confident every day. And Grace, 7, with her father's determination and her mother's heart. Later, as the celebration continued around them, Dominic found a quiet moment with Lily, who was watching her younger siblings with affectionate amusement as they attempted to teach the family dog a new trick. Happy? He asked, following her gaze. Very, she replied with a smile. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? How everything worked out. More than amazing, Dominic agreed. Miraculous. Lily turned to face him, her expression suddenly serious. I've been meaning to tell you something. I got a job offer from Horizon last week. A pretty impressive one, actually. Dominic raised his eyebrows in surprise. Marcus always did have good taste in talent. Are you considering it? I was, Lily admitted. It's a great opportunity, career-wise. But I realize something. The work we're doing with the initiative, it matters more. Making education accessible to kids who might otherwise be left behind, giving them the tools to change their own lives. That's the kind of legacy I want to build. Pride swelled in Dominic's chest.
When I was your age, all I cared about was building the next big thing, making my mark, proving myself. It took me far too long to understand what really matters."
"Well, I had a pretty good teacher," Lily replied with a smile, "even if he was a little late to the classroom." Dominic laughed, pulling his daughter into a hug. "I love you, Lily, and I'm so proud of the woman you've become." "I love you too, Dad," she replied, returning the embrace. "Thanks for finding us." As the evening wound down and guests departed, Dominic found himself on the porch swing with Eliza, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. James and Grace had finally succumbed to exhaustion and were asleep upstairs, while Lily had gone out with friends her own age. 10 years, Eliza mused, her head resting on his shoulder. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday that you showed up at my school. Other times it feels like you've always been here, like there was never a time without you." "I wish that were true," Dominic said softly. "I wish I'd never left in the first place." "If you hadn't," Eliza pointed out, "we might not be who we are now. We might not appreciate what we have quite so deeply." "Wisdom from my wife," Dominic smiled, kissing the top of her head. "As always." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, enjoying the peace of the evening and the warmth of each other's presence. "Do you ever regret it?" Eliza asked suddenly. "Stepping away from Horizon, the company was your first baby in a way." Dominic considered the question seriously. "Not for a moment," he replied honestly. "Horizon was important, and I'm proud of what we built there. But this, you, our children, the life we've made together, this is what gives meaning to everything else." Even on the days when James is testing every boundary, Grace is refusing to wear anything but purple, and Lily is calling with some new crisis at MIT, Eliza teased. "Especially on those days," Dominic assured her. "The messy, chaotic, perfectly imperfect days that make up a real life, a real family." Eliza smiled, snuggling closer against the evening chill. "We did good, didn't we? Despite everything, despite how it all started. We found our way to this." "We did," Dominic agreed, his arm tightening around her shoulders, "and I'm grateful for it every single day." As they sat together, watching the night sky, Dominic reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the ambitious young entrepreneur who had walked away from love for the promise of success, to the man who had found his way back to what truly mattered. From the desperate young woman who had told a lie to protect her unborn child, to the strong, compassionate partner who had found the courage to give love a second chance. It hadn't been an easy road. There had been mistakes and regrets, pain and healing, trust broken and painstakingly rebuilt. But sitting here now, with the woman he loved beside him, and their children sleeping safely upstairs, Dominic knew with absolute certainty that every step of that journey had been worth it. The lie that Eliza had told on that rainy day outside the hospital, the baby didn't make it, had changed the course of both their lives. It had kept them apart for 12 long years, years filled with success and loneliness for him, struggle and joy for her. But in the end, perhaps it had also saved them both, given them time to grow into the people who could truly appreciate the gift of family, the blessing of second chances. And now, 10 years after finding each other again, they had built something precious beyond measure. Not an empire of technology and innovation, but a home filled with love and laughter, with challenges overcome and memories cherished. A family that was stronger for having been broken and rebuilt, more precious for having been lost and found again. As the stars continued to emerge above them, Dominic made a silent promise to himself, to Eliza, to their children, to never forget the lesson he had learned at such great cost. That true success wasn't measured in dollars or accolades, but in moments like these, in love given and received, in a family that was, finally and completely, home. They got their second chance. You might not get yours. Subscribe not just to this channel, but to stories that remind you what really matters. And if you can honestly walk away without doing it, at least own it in the comments.